Hello there. I am Jason Rains. I am the artist, writer, creator of this here comic book called Flung. And seeing as how I've never done one of these things before, just sit and yammer while we draw a thing, I'm just gonna kind of watch the video and talk. Because it's obviously drawing a lot faster than I do in real life. Oh man, I wish I could draw that fast. So I'm just gonna yammer. I'm gonna say some things. Maybe they'll be interesting. Probably not. But what we're starting here with is a cover. This is a cover with our good buddy Ian, as he is in some sort of battle with some creature, some alien thing. And if you see them underneath, I've drawn out my rough sketch. This was done previously. That's kind of how I write the book, is I write it with rough sketches, all in sequence. And then when I'm doing the art, I just go back and finish it all up. So you'll see a lot of things move around and change because the rough is obviously the rough. And what I'm doing here is laying down what would be traditionally called the pencils in comic book parlance. And I'm just kind of sketching things out, getting the anatomy of this thing and refining the details, as it were. One thing you may notice is that I am indeed drawing all of this in Adobe Animate. Gasp from the audience. I know, nobody draws in Animate. Well, I do. For good or ill. I've been using Animate since it was a little program called Future Splash way back in the... I'm not even going to say how far back. It was a really long time ago. But I started using it to do animation for the comic book I was doing, which back then was Joe Psycho and Moofrog. And then eventually became a Flash animator and moved to Hollywood and made movies and TV shows and all that fun stuff. But I've always used Flash. I like the tools. I like the way it works. I like pretty much everything about it. Could be a little more stable. That would be nice, but other than that. So yeah, here we are, drawing right along. Looks like we finished up the alien creature. Get him all posed up nice on the page. And we're going to start moving into Senior Ian. Flip him around there so that we can see what we're drawing, because drawing a face upside down at an angle is difficult. So we'll just do it right side up, spin it back around. But yeah, I like Flash. I have developed kind of my own whole pipeline, you could say. Kind of inspired by comics, kind of inspired by TV shows and movie work. I also used Flash, or do use Flash, to do storyboards, which I do a lot. Last batch I did some for the TV show Leverage, because I do a bunch of work here and there for Electric Entertainment. I love those guys. They are my favorite production company. And yeah, I developed this kind of technique for drawing out storyboards that kind of morphed into a way of drawing comics, which then morphed into a way of drawing three-dimensional comics, which is how I'm doing this stuff. Drawing in Flash gives you the ability to work in layers, but also your layers are vector, so you can draw something and create it and then move it around however you want. Alright, so now we're inking. We're inking this vile creature. This strange abomination with dragonfly wings. What the hell is this thing anyway? And why is Ian fighting with it? Claws. I always like drawing the claws. I don't know why I like drawing claws so much. Something so nice about the shape. The killing shape of claws. Yeah, so we're just throwing in inks, laying it all down. I've been playing with other programs and different types of brushes, but honestly, I like the Flash brushes and working on a Cintiq. I've got my little tablet. I just sit on the couch and I draw my comics, and life is good. Wow, I really do wish I could ink this fast. I don't even know how much time I would save if I could ink this fast. I used to do a lot of shadowing in my work. Back when I was doing comics in the 90s, I would use ink to cover things and put a lot of things in blackness, but as I evolved over time, I just kind of moved away from that into more open shapes and just using inks to really be the line work, just the basic line work, and really try to make the texture and the shading of an object come out through the color. Which would be great if I was doing like realistic colors and whatnot, but I'm not. I'm doing this hyper saturated, insanely alien color scheme stuff. So I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. Honestly, this whole project was just kind of started as a surrealistic thought project, a thought exercise. And I kind of just laid down panels and just let the story take me where it did. And it actually took me all the way through. I ended up drawing out 12 issues, I think, before I even started inking anything. I refined it, of course, the story, over the years, moved things around. That's kind of the nice thing about this technique of using a single timeline in Flash, is that if you draw each panel one after another in a timeline, then you can go through that timeline and edit your location on the timeline that events happen without having to change anything in the book itself. When I originally started drawing this, I was doing every comic page as 4 panels, each one the exact same size, and it was kind of a CinemaScope ratio, like a 2:3:8:1 kind of ratio. And I've kept that, but now, because everything is in vector format, I can move things around to change it for different panel orientations and page orientations, which makes it easy to reformat the book for different formats, for different platforms. So I could do a vertical scroller for webtoons, and I can do a print version, and I can do a horizontal epic single-paneled version, which is the one we're going to be offering to our subscribers and members on our webpage. It's going to be awesome. And there's no loss of any kind of quality in the art because it's all vector. I can zoom in 1000% if I want. So here we are in the inks, continuing along. Oh, we're on the wings. I always save the wings on these guys for last, so that must be, we must be getting close to the end of this guy. His name, by the way, is Curly. No, that has nothing to do with the fact that he has no hair on his head. It's because he has 2 buddies named Larry and Mo. But we'll talk about them later. And as we finish up the inks on this character, you can see that I am doing the inks for the wings on a separate layer because I want to be able to make them separate objects that I can move around and do different effects on. Oh, here's the coloring. I like to pick a really bright, contrasty color, one that contrasts to not only the background, but also the inks. So that makes it really easy to see any space that might be between the black ink and the colored section. And because, again, this is vector art, when you're painting this, it's creating it as an object. So I'm creating this paint layer kind of on this paint object on a layer beneath the ink layer. All right, so now this is a weird part. So I take the colored shape, the base color shape, copy it, paste it into a layer above it, and turn it black, but with a 40% alpha channel. So you're only seeing 40% of the black coming through. And I use that as a base color, a base shadow layer. And then, as you can see, what I'm doing now is I go through and I just erase where I want the light to be. So it's kind of like some guys are painting with light. I erase with light. Or I erase shadow. And it also makes it really easy to see where your light sources are. So this is the technique I'll do to set up my primary light source, which for this character is coming from directly below. So I'm going through and I'm illuminating the areas that are obviously pointing straight down. What that does, though, is it leaves the shadowed areas up on the top, which is where I will go in later to put in the secondary colors. Now, the secondary colors from the secondary lighting is always a much lighter lighting effect, and so it sits on top of the blacks, unlike the primary light, which cuts through the blacks. You'll see when we get there, but This part is also slightly laborious, but it also is very fun because this is where the dimensionality of it all starts to start popping out. And it goes from being a just black line work drawing to this semi 3D-ish dimensionality. That's not even a word. And I'll go through and I'll do different things. I'll erase big chunks, and then I'll switch over to the brush using that same 40% black and then paint back in, as I'll do right there. You can see that I'm painting in the lines, the kind of gradated lines. Classic comic style shading lines, which half the time I don't even know why I do, because I'm just going to blur all of this anyway. Yeah, that's the thing, is this whole layer, once it's done, you apply a blur to it, and that softens up those edges, and it turns those gradated areas into actual kind of gradations. So yeah, now we're getting to the bottom of the character. His legs are closest to the light, so it's really illuminated, and a lot of the flat planes that are facing it are catching that light. And then we flip him back over, because the light is actually coming from above. And now their lighting matches. They're both being lit from directly above, despite the fact that one character's upside down. So now we have all of our shadows in, and we are going to start doing our basic colors. We turn the shadows off first, because that's, the shadows make things a little confusing when you're trying to lay down flats. So we can just turn those off, and then we go in and we start blocking out our large color shape areas, doing our fills. We've got our color guide right there. Tells us exactly what colors we need to use for all of the different versions of Ian. We've got different color guides for the different outfits and the different versions of him that appear throughout the comic. We've got old Ian and young Ian and spacesuit Ian and this suit Ian and all sorts of stuff. Luckily, the aliens usually only have one. And flatting is one of those processes that everybody complains about in comics. Nobody likes to do the flatting. Even colorists hire other people just to do the flats for them. And, I can understand why. It's in most other programs. If you go the traditional route with, like, Photoshop or Procreate, yeah, flatting sucks, but Flash makes that just so much easier. So now here I'm showing how the secondary color works. This is being done on a layer on top of the shadows, and we're getting that kind of ambient light kind of blending in with the secondary lighting. And that's the nice thing about everything being an object also, is the shadow, though I start it at just a 40% black, that's just the base starting version. Then you can go in, you can change it, you can tint it to a color to really get your ambient color from your scene to shine through. So if your scene is more blue, then you'll go in and change the shadow from a black to a dark blue tone. And because it's translucent, it's at a 40%, which you can raise or lower depending on how intense you want the shadows to be. It just automatically changes all of the values of the colors beneath it automatically. So we go through and we paint on with the colors, just like we do with inks. Now we're going to go in and we're going to color us up some creepy alien. Sometimes I have a color scheme, sometimes I already have a pre-colored version. And I'll just go in and pull the colors from one version and stick them on the other. This guy obviously doesn't have a very intense color setup, so the smaller version is obviously going to be much simpler. So in the larger version I'll add some details, So yeah, as I mentioned, we did the wings separate so that we can go through and make them objects, and we'll go through and create all of the little highlights and the colors. And the wings, I like to have that kind of iridescent look to them, so I'll take several different colors and go through and bop them around. Keep that translucentness to the wings, but still give it some of that sheen. And the sheen will really pop when we do the final layer. So here we go, let's paint some light. Painting with light. So this part is easy because, as you can see, the shadows pretty much dictate where the secondary lighting is, because the lighting, being as weak as it is only going to show through on the darker shadowed spots of the character, opposite the primary lighting. Now we do another layer on top of the colors to add in all of our specular highlights, and that really gives everything the pop. Like, it goes to dimensionality at this point. There's that word again. What's with the word dimensional? Dimensional. So we go through, and this is actually painting with light because it's just taking about a 75% opacity white. No, this is probably not even that. It's probably about a 35% opacity. Then we go through and do it on all the other characters and give them their pop. Sit here and color on Ian and give him all his little lighting bits and bobs. There we go. We have ourselves a couple of colored dudes. Oh, the very last part is tiny little points of light that are the actual true specular highlights. And this is what really makes an object look shiny or not. Like, if an object is more matted, then I won't put any at all. Or like the wings, if they're very shiny, then I'll put a lot of them. And here we go. We have two colored characters. Alright, well, I hope that you enjoyed this little foray into my drawing process as I sit and work on a cover for Flung, my comic book, which is coming out through our new awesome company, Stardog, which is where you're watching this video probably, Stardog, the YouTube channel. But also check out stardog.tv for the comic and for videos and for creator interviews and all the fun stuff that we do every day here at Stardog, and for sneak peeks and all sorts of cool behind the scenes information and peeks. So this is Jason Rains signing off from Beyond the Edge, reporting back to the outpost, Stardog Delta Fox.